Hi, Karen. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us on Georgia Actors.
Well, thank you. It took a minute, but here we are.
Right, here we are. So you are part of like two big franchises, Birdie on The Walking Dead, but then also Mrs. Sinclair on Stranger Things. Tell us about that whole process of being part of like two big shows. I imagine you can go to like any con and be like,
no, obviously, really? Usually, like, okay, 2 years ago, this weekend, I was in San Diego for Comic-Con, and that was awesome, but literally they have to look at the pictures and go,
oh, really?
And so I have to, no, I'm Mrs. Sinclair. Like, I usually have to explain to people who I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the real cool thing is Mother's Day, Stranger Things tagged me on a post, and so since then it's like the followers, like, yeah, I think I've gotten about 5,000 followers since then. Oh. And they're all like tweens, you know. Yeah. We're like, can you get me on the show? Can you get me on the show? Can you get Millie Bobby Brown to follow me? She doesn't know who I am.
And auditioning for those shows, that was like any other audition, right?
Yeah. You know, I submitted, it was a self-tape, submitted, and then when the word came out, we were like, we were supposed to be going to a football game. And then we just were waiting. We weren't going, we were waiting, and then finally got the word and had to go in and be like, because you can't tell anyone.
Right. There's like the build-up, you audition, you get cast, but then you can't talk about it for
like a year.
Right, yeah.
Right.
It shoots and then you can't.
Right. And then you have people going, you know what? You should try to get on Stranger Things. I should. Right.
Technically, originally, season 1 had a different mom and dad, or at least you saw Lucas with.
Yes, they were background actors. It's funny because I actually knew the woman who played the other mom. But when they went into and they were expanding the role, that's when they decided to have auditions.
How do you make her not mad?
That's a great question. How do you, hon?
First, I apologize. Then, I get your mother whatever she wants.
Even when she's wrong?
She's never wrong, son.
That's right.
And being in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time, what type of growth and changes have you seen in the acting community?
Like during the 90s and early 2000s when everyone still had to leave. Like if you wanted a career, you had to leave. There was no way. So I had been planning on moving out to Los Angeles. Oh. And then our family structure changed as it's gonna be a mommy, right? And I ain't got no raising baby money in LA money, you know, so stayed here. But for the longest time, it was just like they kept saying the work was coming, the work is coming, the work is coming. And we were like, and the biggest thing you'd get would be like a Lifetime movie of the week, like every 3 years or something like that. So to see things start to turn, and then to the point where all of my auditions are for TV film projects, you know, that 5-10 years ago was unheard of.
And I think some people are under the assumption that they'll only do television, only do film, but there's a whole process of becoming an actor.
Right. I say it's like going to Six Flags on the busiest day of the year, and you just got to stand in line and wait your turn. And along the way, some people get sick of the wait and they leave, and you get to bop up a couple of steps, and then somebody comes through with a pass and they pass you and just get right on it. I mean, that's the business, and you just stand there. Then you get to a point where you think you're almost there, and it's like, yes, and it's like 2 hours to this wait, and they're like, oh. So that's really what I can equate it to, is that you don't know how long the line is, you don't know how long the wait is, but you're going to have to wait. Yeah. And, you know, you have people, and I'm sure you have this, like students that'll be like, I don't want to do commercials. I don't want to do, well, neither do I. But actually, commercials pay really well, right, you know.
But there's other jobs that Georgia actors can take, like corporate work and things along those lines.
Right. The ones that I'm not doing anymore.
Right.
Which I'm really not doing anymore. Is this when we insert footage of us passing packages next to each other? Yes. They like to hire actors for, because we have personality. Right. So they throw us into parties to try to make people who have normal jobs more fun, you know, and that can be fun. And then after a certain amount of time, you're like, why am I doing this? Oh, because I have bills to pay. Got it.
But if you want to be a working actor, you do it.
The thing that's great about actors and not great about actors, is that we're very personable, which can be great and annoying at sometimes, but you learn from other people. So even if you might not be doing the job you want to, if you're working with other actors while you're sitting around talking, oh, they're having auditions here, or no, this information came up, or oh, hey, they're looking for people for this. And that's why it's imperative for you to really stay engaged with other people who are doing what you want to do, who are maybe like 2 or 3 steps ahead of where you want to be. It's very important to surround yourself with people who are in motion, people who are going where you want to go and can expand what you already know. And that comes from lots of different places.
Mm-hmm. And acting classes are a great way of not only honing your skills, but making a lot of connections.
Right. This is an industry of connections. This is an industry of building bridges. One of the things I tell people, I'm like, in an industry, in a world of takers, be a giver. And that's how I've kind of secured my place, I guess, is, I volunteered a lot and you help. How can I help? How can I help? Where can you fill a hole for somebody where they need? And this is an industry that's always struggling with money, with some type of financial support, but people need people to help. So you get in there, you volunteer, you do good things, you treat people well, and then 10 years from now, something might, hey, I know Karen, she's legit. I know she's not flaky like all the other actors out here.
Right.
Not to say that actors are flaky, right? But it's when you build a certain amount of, build a reputation. That's when it helps, because starting off, you're just going to be making so many mistakes. You don't really know what you're doing. And you want to be in a position where people want you to succeed. And you're not just another bzz, bzz, bzz. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? How can you help me? How can you help me?
Right. In Atlanta, you got involved with Whole World Theater. Tell us about that process of, working with a improv ensemble.
When I went there, they were shooting a pilot with Castle Rock Entertainment. I came in, it was mainly like the original people. All the people that kind of started it were still there waiting on this pilot from LA. It was directed by George McGrath, who worked with Tracy Ullman, who was like my idol. And George I've kept with in touch since then. That's like 2001, 2002. And that was my first pilot that I shot. So that was loads of fun. But I learned a lot about improv, about, being an actor, and that was the beginning of building a lot of new relationships.
But being part of that type of improv ensemble, improv group really helps you as an actor not only make connections, but then in your acting.
Because everybody gets you. Like growing up, we were the weirdos that everyone's like, stop, make them stop. You know what I mean? When I found improv, that was the first time I was just like, this is where it fits in. This is, I'd been acting since I was 10, so I did theater, did all the classes and all that stuff, and TV. My degree was in theater. But when I did improv, it's like, this is where all the imitations that I do, all the different voices, all the accents, all the just things that just pop into my mind that everyone's like, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? It worked. And now we have a room full of people that we all can go back and forth.
And you can tell when an actor doesn't have that improv background or any type of comedy background.
They're unable to connect with you. You know what I mean? I think improv people, and this was one of the things that Whole World specifically taught me, was the 7 seconds of silence at the top of the scene. Don't talk. You're still acting. Mm-hmm. You're still in the moment, but let's take a minute to connect where we are before we just start going. And definitely in different auditions or a callback or something like that, or if you're paired up with people you don't know, you haven't been practicing with, you can tell the people that are ready to kind of, let's have fun. Like, you know what I mean? And let's build off of each other, as opposed to, this is what I've prepared. And I'm doing the method, and you just have to, catch up. It's like, all right, watch me.
Is that something you recommend for everyone, improv?
I think everybody should take improv. Like public speaking, things like that. I think it's an essential skill. Again, how do we break down from being so rigid? How do we listen instead of just come up with a bunch of lines that I've already have rehearsed or I'm over here thinking? How can I see where you are and then react based off of where you are and not where I think you're going? Just being able to create on the fly and understanding that even when you create on the fly, there's still rules, and in knowing these rules, that's what makes you strong enough to break them when you need to, and how to break them properly.
And with Georgia and Atlanta getting so much production work coming through it, do you think that's a good thing with all the actors now coming in looking for work?
I mean, it is what it is. And you can either lead, follow, or get the hell out the way. You know what I'm saying? You either gonna, if you've been here and you are still not progressing, then you need to be taking a look at what's going on. You know, I feel like a lot of people here for a long time have just kind of skated. I know I did too. I'm not even going to, you know, plenty of auditions a while ago where I would just literally learn them in the car ride on the way over. But now to be able to prepare for something is great. There's a misconception also that everyone in LA is auditioning as much as we're auditioning here. Yes, all the bigger roles are being cast out of LA and New York. Yes. You know what I mean? And that's problematic.
Have you seen that changing?
There's a few people who've been here a long time that are being able to break out the cycle. And then you have like Priya, who plays my daughter. She plays Erica on Stranger Things. She has blown up. You know what I mean? She has really blown up. But she'd been doing the work too. Even though she's young, she had been doing a lot of stuff prior to this. So it's not like she came out of nowhere. You know, the kids that are on the show, they all came from like Broadway and stuff like that. So they didn't come from nowhere and just audition. Right. It hasn't changed enough yet. But we're getting the opportunities to get in there. And that's why you just always have to put out good work, because you never know what's going to be the thing that books you and what's keeping you from booking. Like as actors, we get so caught up in it must be me. No, it's just, you know, it didn't work out for this part. You know, I think I auditioned for Army Wives like 35 times before I booked over the course of like 5 seasons. And you get to the point where you're like, huh. But then I book, and then the casting assistant, whom I didn't know, takes me aside and was just like, Karen, you're always in our top 10. We always, you know, like what you're doing. And then it's just, you know, and now he's a casting director, casting his own stuff. You know, so again, long-term relationships. You just have to always put out great work and be prepared, not make excuses, because whatever excuse you have, oh, I just got it, oh, I don't have this. And there's an actor out there that's got it done and they could get it in and it's going to be golden, and you just missed out. So whatever excuses are going on to not having a home studio, not being able to audition at home, not being able to do X, Y, and Z, not having enough money for lights or whatever, you're just gonna have to get over that if you're trying to be a working actor.
Well, now as an actor, you have to make your own opportunities.
You have to, because that's the other thing now, is that we have to become content creators. It's gone are the days where you could just be an actor and that's it. You know, Issa Rae, for an example, she made a name for herself online with Awkward Black Girl. You know, the Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl, had a following. Then she went through years of, you know, different deals and whatever. And then finally, you know, Insecure comes out and has been an enormous hit. And now she's producing things and whatever, but she built that.
Karen, you grew up in Philadelphia, acting since you were 10. New York is that much closer than Atlanta. What brought you to Atlanta?
You know, my senior year of high school is when A Different World came out, School Days came out, and everyone wanted to go to Spelman and Morehouse, Howard, Hampton, everyone wanted to go. And there was an article in Essence magazine about the dual degree engineering program. At this time, I'd kind of given up acting a little bit, like as far as the pursuit. So I just came down here, thought I was just gonna come down here and go back. I never, ever, ever in a million years could you have told 17-year-old me that Atlanta, once I went there, that was home. It was a blast. I loved it. I had a great time in school, and then just stayed here because I started off dual degree engineering and I bombed. So I took an acting class just because I was like, I need something to get an A, right? You know? So I took that class and my teacher was like, you've had training. I don't think it's fair you're in this intro class with the rest of these people and you've had training, obviously. So she used to give me extra work. I had to work harder in her class where I was just there to get an easy A. But she gave me this really hard monologue and she gave it to me and she was like, I've never given anyone an A in a monologue before. So from there, I started doing like stage management and I started doing lights and sound. So I became like the tech girl. My senior project was like, I used linear algebra to describe some, I have no idea what, I still have the thing and I'm like, what does this mean, right? I don't know what this means. But apparently at the time I did. And it was some linear algebra just describing or explaining some Adrian Kennedy play that I have no idea what was going on now. But my whole class was like, so needless to say, when I got out of college, I had no idea, so I just waited tables. And then I partied because it was the 90s and I was living in Midtown waiting tables. And so I partied hard and had a blast. Yeah. So that's why I never made it back up. Right? It's because I was having too much fun.
Right. But the work's here now.
Now.
Now it is, yeah.
It's a very long,
wait.
desolate journey to this point.
Yeah.
Long and desolate.
So for anybody watching it at any age who wants to get involved with acting, performing, what advice do you have for them?
I mean, it's always you have to train. I don't know why people think if you want to be a doctor, you don't just be like, you know what? I love medical shows. So I'm just going to become a surgeon. There's a process. You got to take classes. You got to volunteer. You got to get to know people. There's no way to skip over it. And even if you were able to luck up in to booking some part out of the blue, it might be that one part. Because if you don't have your stuff together, it's going to be that one part. And if you're talking about longevity, you need a foundation. You need something to stand on. Get up in there and hustle. And don't complain, because somebody else is doing what you're complaining about, and they're not complaining, right? And they're getting it done. Oh, was that an ending point? Oh, I feel like, was it? Okay. All right.
You're getting it done.
All right. Get her done.
Yay.
Cut.
Karen, thank you again for doing this. It's been great talking to you. And the only reason I got you here was to try to get my daughter on Stranger Things. You think that they might? She's 12, has red hair. Maybe a young Max, something? Anything?
Cut.
Oh, we gotta get the reaction shots.
Oh, I'm sorry.